Give me a second. Okay. Looks like we're live on YouTube. Let's let them in.
Here they all are. All the regular crowd shuffling in.
The hardcore crew.
The hardcore crew. All right, let's get this thing on the air. Welcome to Trash Talk Live number 33. My name's Ian Maverick. I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. We got 2 hours of Tandy TRS-80 discussion, see what everyone's been up to. Yeah. Hope you're all happy to be here, nice and warm. I'm not. It's the middle of winter here and 7 a.m. Sunday morning, so the things we do. But yeah. All right, so the usual rules I've got for the place. No swearing and mobile phones set to silent. And we should have we've got a good number of people here, about 9 of us at the moment. We might have a few others joining us, so we'll see how long this goes for, and kick off with my main man, Peter Satinsky. How you going?
I'm doing good, Mav. How are you?
Can't complain. Keep me busy.
How's the auto racing?
Oh, good. I've got another one in August. So at the club level of motorsports that I do, the important thing is to drive there, do the event, and drive home again. That's all that really matters. Whether I win or come at the end of the field, the idea is not to break the car. So that's fine. I've been succeeding at that. And since it's a newish car, it's a 18-year-old Mazda RX-8, known to be a little bit of a fragile car. Working up to speed with it so that and it's turning out to be pretty reliable now. It's hanging in there, not doing anything silly. So that's my when I get sick of computers, that's what I do. I go mess around with cars. So yeah, have been enjoying that.
Very cool. It's all about the track time, right? Yep. What have I been doing? I haven't been doing much in the retro computing arena. But I did finally finish my EMT training. Yay! I'm a nationally certified EMT now. So
that's so cool.
Somebody keels over at Tandy Assembly, maybe I could actually help you survive or something.
You can operate a defibrillator and all that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm good at CPR and all that stuff. So
well, you're an asset to the show, that's for sure.
if you so choose.
I can't practice officially in Ohio, but I can be a good Samaritan, and as a citizen, I can help you.
Yeah, I mean, they here in Colorado, the last time I stopped to help somebody out, I'm not an EMT, but they do have a good Samaritan law where if you try to help, you're not going to get prosecuted or anything.
Yeah, that's pretty common. Yeah.
So what happens in Ohio if you try to help? You can get into some sort of trouble, or?
No, as long as I'm acting as a citizen, as not as part of an agency or as an official capacity, I'm fine. Right?
Okay.
So I can't act at an EMT. Yeah. So that's cool. So that's done. So actually, I have a lot of time because I was taking these classes, 2 or 3 times a week for the whole spring. That's all done. So now I actually do have time to get back into my TRS-80s here. Cleaned up the garage today. Kind of rearranged all the big machines I have on the shelves in there, got back into the mood and got kind of psyched up to start working on them again. So we'll see.
It looks like it by the being behind you. You've really cleaned the joint up.
Yeah, well, not down here. The garage.
As good as my place when I clean the place up. I've rearranged a few things, but it doesn't look anywhere near as clean as I'd predicted it would be when I started cleaning the place. But yeah, so you got any VCFs lined up?
VCFs? No. Next show I'm going to is Tandy Assembly. So
yeah, Me too. Yeah. Cool. How's that coming along anyway?
It's same as every year. It kind of runs itself at this point.
Yep.
People just always send in their exhibits like at the last minute. So if you're listening, send in your exhibits early so we can get some information up on the website and help create some buzz about the show. So everybody says they're going to exhibit, but I want to get some details. Send me some pictures. Send me like a paragraph of what you're going to be doing so we can.
Mine's the same as last year and the year before and the year before.
Yeah, I just copy and paste yours, Peter. Most of yours I copy and paste.
Are you bringing working Model 4s this year, Peter?
We have a lot of Peters.
Oh, you.
PP.
Mr. Labs. Mr. Labs.
Since the only show I used to drive to was VCF Midwest in Chicago, and even that was a bit of a stretch. It is 18 hours. So these days Malcolm brings all the equipment, except for I'll bring a few Mises and Mises and Myers. Other than that, I don't bring much.
What should I exhibit at Tandy Assembly? I'm not sure what to bring yet.
What was last year's?
What did I have last year? Oh, I had the VIS.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find some other exhibit to knock it out of the park, Peter.
I want to build that stack of Model 1 monitors that I've been shown pictures of the past couple of years. The 3x3 array.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see if 9 of them are going to run continuously and not give problems for 3 days. That would be a victory of sorts. I've been thinking about the tech track. I haven't really got an idea of what I could talk about during the tech track, but I got this crazy thought. I was looking at some website that talked about, well, it might have been a book or something about crappy computer accessories that weren't worth the time and effort, at the time, and I thought, how can I turn this into a tech track? And I thought, well, actually, if out of the 5 tech tracks, the first 2 and the last 2 are sort of high on tech and low on humor. Maybe some comic relief in the middle, and I can talk about Tandy's crappiest accessories for the TRS-80, and I'm talking about things like the screen printer and the is there any Coco people? The MC10 and the color graphic printer, the little one with the pens and
Oh yeah, that
like
looks pretty one. Yeah.
Yeah, the disappointment that most people must have experienced when they've sort of got this thing home and started with it. The Vox box, although it's highly collectible these days, it quickly springs to mind because it's just requires so much work and it's to get it working, and it's lets the side down a little bit as far as usability, and people buy it with,
you use your Vox box for 15 minutes and then you're kind of tired of the thing. It just is not.
Or you realize that it doesn't have enough sample space to store all of the alphabet or a bunch of words or anything.
It's like, no, I said 2, not 10. Knock it off.
Exactly.
Well, the nice thing about that is that so many of them you find today are in really nice condition because they were barely used.
Yeah, that's one thing to be said about rare and crappy accessories, that when you do find them, they're often in fantastic condition. The digitizer, the pen digitizer. I've never seen one of those with any signs of wear on them. They must have been they must have been bought sort of, they scratch their head going, what do I do with this thing? You mean it doesn't come with software? And then put it back in the box and never use it again. But yeah, so it's only about 3 months till Tandy Assembly. So I hope we get some announcements soon of our speakers and things like that. I've been watching the website.
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing a tech track presentation, but I don't know what it would be about.
That's all right. We'll choose one for you and let you know, Peter.
All right.
Okay. All right. Peter's doing TT 101.
Did you ever do a talk on how you developed the Mayas?
Is anybody interested? I don't know.
Of course.
I'd be interested.
Definitely.
Yeah. You'd be surprised.
I could bring the original boards and stuff. I suppose I could stuff that in my suitcase.
That would be cool.
Because it's kind of strange.
Well, that's even better. Yeah, you'll have a full audience for that. All right, lock that in, Peter Satinsky.
Oh,
All
right.
right.
I honestly myself can't imagine anybody would be interested.
How many Mises have you sold? Hundreds, right?
It's
interest.
It's several hundred. Yeah.
So and everybody loves it, right?
I've never had one returned except for one person who is a regular at Tandy Assembly who sent it back without opening the box because he decided he couldn't afford it. That's the only one I ever had sent back. As far as I know, everyone is out there working brilliantly, which is a massive surprise to me because some of the components I get from China are absolute crap. The FPGA modules and the IDE CF adapters, they're just garbage. I have to rework them all the time. But I've never let one go out the door that I wasn't confident in. And it's hundreds.
Well, seriously, think about it. We'd love to hear the story.
I might even have some old photos. I don't know.
Even better. All right. Okay. Oh, this is coming together nicely.
Keep it going. Keep it going, Matt. Everybody gets to talk.
Everyone gets to talk. Let's see. Ira, been a while, mate. Haven't seen you for ages. How's things down in California?
They're fine. They're fine. Writers are on strike, so nobody's getting any new television. But nothing new going on.
Yep, the website. You've been busy?
Just messing around with the Model 3 disassemblies. And I'm spending more time on the program that I wrote to take the opcodes and at least set up the HTML, including a general explanation as to what the command does, so I don't have to keep retyping it over and over. So I spend more time on that than actually doing the disassemblies, but it helps. Like part of it would be, it's if it senses what is sitting in register A and it knows that the next command is to send a command to the floppy disk controller, it'll already break down, well, the binary was this and blah, blah, blah. So it does a lot of the work for me, but it's not so easy turning the opcodes and the potential disassemblies into the HTML, especially because of that damn carry flag can also be register C business.
Sounds like you're busy. That's cool.
Well,
no word from Van Halen about their Model 4 with all the discs they can't read?
No one's reached out yet.
No, all right. For people who weren't part of the conversation, so there was an interesting post on the Facebook group about a week or so ago showing a studio back room at Van Halen's studio, and they got their broken Model 4 there, and apparently the discs have got a wealth of information about unreleased songs and lyrics and other information, and the comment was that that they can't do anything because the computer doesn't work. And I just thought, well, that's that's too bad the computer doesn't work, but there's heaps of things you can do, like send all the discs to Ira. It's what everybody else does, and we'll have the information off them in no time. But I'm sure they'll reach out to you anytime soon.
I'm waiting.
I haven't kept up with the Facebook group. Are you talking about the band Van Halen?
The Van Halen.
Really?
Yeah, they used to do all their well, according to the post. So I take that with a grain of salt. But it showed one of the back rooms of their studio with their stuff in it, and a full Model 4 system with a line printer and I don't know, maybe the engineer was out back there, keeping logs of everything. But yeah, who knows what could be on these discs? But
they never seem like TRS-80 kind of guys.
Well, the musicians probably never are. We're talking about the dudes in the back that push the faders and say, all right, that's a take, you know.
All right.
Good
That
enough,
sort of,
if it's good enough for Asimov, it should be good enough for Van Halen.
There you
well,
go.
exactly. And the people that made the video should be good enough to actually Google where do I get TRS-80 discs recovered. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, but they might reach out. Be interesting to see what's on them. So yeah. But that's right, Peter. It was Van Halen. Cool. Anything else? How's the cats going, Ira? They good?
The little kitten is just adorable as hell, and
I
they're
was
fine.
going to say it's a juvenile cat now, isn't it? It's
She's 9 months.
yep.
She's sleeping. I will grab her from my wife's desk.
Irish cats are the cutest cats.
They're so photogenic, Ira's cats, aren't they? Yeah.
This is Baby Bailey.
Yep. Why for did you just wake me up? He says.
Yeah,
Doesn't seem to be enjoying this much.
she's a ragdoll. She'll endure.
Yeah. That's so cool. Cool. Anything else on your mind, Ira? Or
Nope, just glad to tune in and see what's going on. Just kismet that I wasn't napping, which is what I'm usually doing during this thing.
yep.
Hey, Ira,
cool.
quick question for Ira. On the Discord, Turkey mentioned that he sent you a bunch of newsletters. Have you been publishing those on the website, or
Who sent me some newsletters? When? Who?
Turkey from England?
Stephen Hall.
Yeah, Stephen Hall.
I don't know if I've gotten them. Do you know how recent those posts are?
He just mentioned it the other day. He said he was going to send you more. So I'll follow up with him.
No,
That's
maybe
a definite maybe. Okay.
Okay.
I'll have to check to see. Certainly, if I get stuff, up it goes. But I don't know that I've
There was
gotten
some UK TRS-80 news groups from back in the day.
Let's face it, if it was only in the last week, it would take longer than that to arrive, probably. So even if stuff's on its way.
No, I think he would be scanned. Are you sure that's not like a few months ago?
It could have been, but he mentioned it just the other day. That he'd
Oh,
send you more.
okay. I don't have more, but as I get them, I work on them. And up we go.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool.
Do you have the Sid Trug newsletters from Australia? I was an honorary member of them for several years, and I've got a whole bunch of their files.
I think I have a lot. There are no secrets on the website. If there's a cover, then I have it. If there's no cover, then I don't. Which is why from time to time when people send me covers, I don't put them up, because that's not what
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of interesting stuff in their newsletters. Specifically, most of you have probably met up with Mark McDougall at some point, who did a lot of TRS-80 stuff and other computer stuff. But yeah, he was on Sig Trug. I'm not sure what Sig Trug means, but yeah, it was a good newsletter.
Sydney TRS-80 users group. Yeah,
on
about
the
a
site
decade.
now, and I'm looking. I mean, there's certainly a lot of them, but there's certainly a lot missing.
Yeah, back in about a decade ago, I scanned all my ones and sent them to you, Ira. So that's probably what you got there. They go back to about the early 80s.
Yeah, 84. So it looks like we're missing the first 4 volumes. And then let me see if this is one where I actually I did put up little red blocks on the ones I don't have. So it's easy to scan through and see what's missing. So a few 1990s are missing. And then
yeah, mine are later than that.
There's some missing from 93 and 94, and then this taps out in 97.
Yep. Yeah, and so they were fairly consistent through the 2000. Through the 2000.
Post on the Discord what you don't have, and I'll see if I have it.
Sure. Absolutely.
That'll work out well. All right. Cool, Ira. Nice to hear from you. Thanks for joining us. Next, how about George Phillips?
Hey,
Hey, George, what's up?
Peter and I have been busy lately. We got the Coco emulation into TRS-80 GP and
Ah,
have been fixing some bugs in it. So that's a bit of a work in progress. And having completed that, I'm sort of going back to the TRS 8-bit competition where we want people to write the smallest Z80 disassembler they can. So I've been adding to some of the files to that to give examples and so on to help make it easier to get started. I'll actually show you what I've been working on there. So what I wanted to do is pop it up. Come up with something to show kind of the patterns that exist in Z80. So it's the object of the competition isn't for you to sort of, show all your immediate knowledge about the Z80 opcodes are structured. So I thought it would be interesting to show this pattern. So if you look at the opcodes, I've ordered them in such a way here that you can see patterns that emerge. And the first one that's obvious with the load instructions here, you sort of see that as we march down the column, the register changes, right? It goes B, C, D, E, H, L, memory location, H, L, and A. And the same thing when we go across is that you have this B, C, D, E, H, L, memory location, H, L, and A. And so one of the first things you realize is when you're disassembling these instructions, if you have these little bit patterns, they use, consistent numbering for the registers. So register 3 is always E, for example. And memory location HL tends to operate like a register. It just looks like register 6. A is register 7. And then you see there's also a little break in the pattern here is that you might expect just looking at it saying, oh, this instruction here, if I hover, it should show me the opcode. Oh, well, yeah, there it was, 7.6 in hexadecimal. It should actually load memory location HL with memory location HL, but instead it actually halts the processor. So there's sometimes breaks in the patterns. With this block of instructions, you can also see the pattern in the registers, and that, again, we have going across the row, we see, it goes from BC all the way up to register A. But then going down, there's a consistent number for the operation. So 0 is add, 1 is add with carry, 2 is subtract, and so on. And the final one, 7, being compare. So if you're putting together a disassembler, the first thing you can start to do is, pull out these 3-bit quantities and realize you just sort of do a table lookup or something to fill it in. In the sort of final block of instructions here, which covers the CO to FF range, you can see that, again, there's a pattern for the condition codes, not 0, 0, not carry, carry, not overflow, overflow, and then plus and minus. And so you can see it in the conditional calls and the conditional jumps. And there's sort of similar sorts of things that happen with the bit instructions, again, the register numbers and operations. If you look at the ED instructions, the ones that are prefixed with the ED and hexadecimal byte, there's some pattern to them, but not as much. Again, the register pattern does exist. And once again, we find funny holes in the instruction set. Like if you're doing in or out, you can read from port C or write to port C any of the registers, but you can't do memory location HL. That was just perhaps too much to ask of the Z80 implementers to do that. Then going back up to the top, it's hard to express in the table, but if you sort of squint your eyes, you can see that there's a pattern for the register pairs themselves, that they sort of have this consistent numbering going down, but it skips every row because there's only 4 register pairs that they tend to talk about: B, C, D, E, H, L, and the stack pointer. And the final sort of mega pattern here is that with the Z80, you've got the IX and IY instructions, which allow you to, they're index registers that allow you to access memory, but also give an offset onto that memory. You know, you can say IX plus 5 or IX minus 10 or something like that. So they're very convenient for looking at little tables of memory or data structures. And the way the Z80 does them is it uses a prefix byte, which is listed in the table. So there's the the other prefix byte ED here, for example, but there's also a prefix byte IX or DD for IX, and for IY there's FD. So all these bold-faced instructions are ones that if you put the prefix in front of it, then instead of talking about IX, the Z80 will go, oh, you want to talk about IY. It's kind of almost sort of a renaming. So for example, if you have add HL with BC, which is opcode 9, if you stick a DD in front of it, then the Z80 will go, oh, DD09. That means that I want to add BC to IX register. Or if you put FD, it'll add it to IY register. So that's true of the 16-bit operations where you just simply replace HL with IX. For any of these other ones, I'll say subtract memory location HL. If you put the prefix in front of it, then it goes, well, I'm going to subtract from memory location pointed to by IX, but then you get a bonus extra byte onto it, which tells you the offset, which is signed. So it can be anywhere from +0 to +127 bytes, or -1 down to -128 bytes offset from it. So if you're writing a disassembler, you can sort of, do this first part. What's in this table will cover mostly everything. And then the IX and IY come almost for free, just by setting a flag saying, oh, I see the prefix. Well, now I'm just going to say IX instead of HL, and you're kind of almost done. Anyhow, that's sort of putting that together, and I'm going to notify, there's a few people have already expressed their interest in following these updates. So I'm going to get this stuff put together and send it out to them so they can, hopefully have an easier time working on the real important part of the computation, which is to make the thing small rather than, figuring out all these patterns and stuff, which are helpful to them. Thus endeth the Z80 lesson for today.
Very cool. Did we lose Mav? I think we lost Mav. Wow.
What will we do?
I think we lost Mav.
We'll recover. I'm sure he'll be joining us soon. But I have to say, George, yeah, he's coming back. George, that was awesome, but you kind of glossed over the whole Coco and TRS-80 GPU support. Did I miss that? Has that been a thing for a while?
You got to read your TRS 8-bits, man. Yeah, it was the last release, which, we tend to release TRS-80 GP with each new issue of TRS 8-bit, just sort of a convenient deadline.
Okay.
And so we put together all the stuff we had for the electric crayon and MC10 and the video text and sort of put it in a mixing bowl and got Coco emulation out of it.
Yeah, so the last time I tried TRS-80 GP was probably 7-8 years ago. And I use MRAS, the Mesosys assembler, and heavy use of macros. And it just crashed. I really do need to get back to TRS-80 GP because it takes forever to assemble things on my TRS-80s. I'd really like to get it working.
It's come a long way.
Yeah, I'll try it again.
Yeah.
Pete Satinsky, I sent you a lot of my source code, and apparently you got it to compile with TRS-80 GP. I'll try it again soon.
7 or 8 years ago would have been like a beta version almost.
Yeah, it didn't understand the macros. It just didn't.
Well, are you confusing ZMAC with TRS-80 GP though?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, TRS-80 GP is the emulator. ZMAC.
Okay, yeah, ZMAC. I tried it. It crashed. It's probably better now. It
It
didn't
does-
understand much of the many of the macros, which, like I said, I use heavily.
Yeah, and I fixed that up. Yeah, a few years back. There's a couple of things, I guess. Is in one case, it'll just operate kind of in a generic mode where it tries to understand the various dialects of assembler out there. You know, because there's like EDTASM and MRAS and CPM assemblers, and so it sort of has this common mismatch of things. And then it also has a flag to handle particular assemblers. So there is a -- MRAS, so it will operate more closely to the way MRAS did, which the macros are pretty similar. And by default, it understands MRAS macros. The main thing it does is it also changes the operator precedence and expressions, because MRAS was strictly left to right. So, you know,
Yeah.
you have 1 + 3 × 5, that's going to come out to 20, not 16, as you might normally expect.
Yeah, and MRAS has its share of macro bugs that I've found and worked around. You know, I'm sure you've fixed those, but they're a pain in the butt. But you know, what do you expect from you know, MRAS 1.0A? You know, it's got bugs.
Oh yeah, I mean, if there's a program that doesn't have bugs in it, then it doesn't exist, right?
Exactly.
It's still the
Thanks.
best assembler for the TRS-80,
I think so.
native assembler.
Cool. Thanks, George. Thanks for the update.
By the way,
Uh,
George, if you run out of things to do, I've got a list for you.
Oh yeah, your list is on the to-do list.
Okay, thank you.
Dusty from the UK, up late at night.
No, it's
Hey,
not
mate.
too bad. It's not too bad tonight, Mav. It's only 10. Was it 10:30? So hey, early night for me.
I wish it was
Usually-
10:30 here. What have you been up to?
Usually 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, not an awful lot, really. Can I just? I want to apologise to Ira. I did say I was going to send you some discs. There aren't many, but anyway, the local post office is still not accepting international parcels. Now I can't believe this has been going on since God knows when, January. So it'll send letters or large letters, but not what they call packets or what we would call a parcel. So
Well, can you fold the discs in half and put them in an envelope?
I could do. Never thought of that one.
Okay.
Mav, why don't you like the CPC printer? I thought that was a fantastic bit of kit.
The
The
little
thing with the pens.
CGP 115, is that the one you're
Yeah.
talking about? Because when you first see it print, you think, oh yeah, it's slow, but I can live with that. And then when you go to print a 1,000-line program, you may as well, you know, go to sleep and come back in the morning.
You've never printed a 1,000-line program on a teletype, have you?
I've only ever had Tandy's printers, and yeah, I'm pretty adept at closing the door and walking out of the room when my daisy wheel. It was fast, but it was noisy. That's for sure. You go print a you know, few 100-page university thesis the night before it's due at the middle of the night. That's fun for everyone else in the house.
Yeah. The only problem I had with the little printer was recharging the ink bottles because they're so tiny. But
they're ballpoint pens, basically, aren't they? And they don't hold, but they don't hold as much. They don't hold anywhere near as much ink as one of these, so they run out. Yeah.
I've never found a way around that. And somebody was trying to develop metal cogs because all the cogs inside are plastic and they do wear very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would surprise me if someone's come up with 3D printed replacements these days.
Oh right, yeah, I love that, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
So, yeah.
just a little bit of news. Thanks for everybody who sent in all the stuff for TRS-80. I hope you liked it. I thought this was, I don't like to say it because it sounds pretentious, but I thought this was one of the best ones we've had for ages. And I was absolutely thrilled with George's contribution. Thanks, mate. That is so, for the old Aculab, that is just so wonderful. It's just, I just can't believe it every time we use it. Anyway, the good news is I'm not going to be on long, you're all right. NatGug News, that was the TRS-80 user group in the UK. I've got the first volume digitized and I'm going to stick it on the UK website. If you want to copy it, Ira, and download it to yours, I'd be greatly honoured if you would, because you obviously attract an awful lot more business than I do. Is that okay?
Right now, I'm still working on the SID truck from the last conversation. Absolutely, but I think I have a whole lot of those as well. Again, let me go to that page.
NatGug News, what they're called.
User group newsletters, page 1, NatGug.
NatGug, N-A-T-U-G
Yeah.
was originally.
So I do have quite a few, but there's huge holes in the collection. If you've done the early stuff,
Yeah.
definitely need those. I've got, some of volume 4, some of volume 6. No, I'm sorry, not enough of volume 6 to mention. So I've got some of volume 4, and then I pick up in earnest on volume 10.
Yeah.
So on.
Well, that's quite, that was Model 4 era, wasn't it? And latest MS-DOS nearly that was. I've got to say, I've got volume 1, the first 12 issues.
Wonderful.
And they'll be on, hopefully I'll get them on this coming week. And then I'm working on volume 2. And that was the second year. So that would be 7980.
Wonderful.
And the rest, the quality is poor, I'm afraid, but there's nothing, it was offset somehow, and it never did. It was very difficult to read originally, but then we're going to look at volume 3, and that is very difficult because they decided to print A4 2 pages to one side, and sometimes they were upside down, so you've got sort of page 1 and 2, and then you flipped it up and there was 3 and 4. And then, of course, sometimes it worked the exact opposite way around. So it's a real mess. So that's going to take a bit longer to sort out. But as I say, hopefully volume 1 is going to be up this week. And then volume 2 shouldn't be too long after that. But it's very early, very elementary start. I remember on the very first one, we're looking at a RAM upgrade for a Model 1 Level 2 4K. And it was $140 buying the chips from the States plus postage. And Leon, who's come on a couple of times, I think, who was the editor of the newsletter in those days, he amazed everyone by using an Access credit card over the phone to the States and getting these RAM chips sent. So that was the first. But there you go, eh? Happy days. Yeah, but as I say, thanks for everybody who supports TRS-80. I'm already started on the September one, believe it or not. But yeah, thank you. I hope you like the birthday magic square. I thought that was rather clever. But there you go.
It was. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dusty. Thanks for joining us as always. Look forward to writing my next article. Hopefully will be a preamble on what to expect at Tandy Assembly. So as soon as the information comes to hand, I'll start writing. Okay, Sean in Sydney. Hey, mate.
How you doing?
You got a big project ahead of you.
Oh, dude, that collection of I guess a barn find is probably the best description for it.
So for those who aren't part of the appropriate Australian vintage computer group, the ACMS, Australian Computer Museum Society, which is a proper a proper museum here in Australia, in Sydney, was recently donated a large consignment of TRS-80 equipment that has been so poorly stored that it's begging to be restored. There's from the pictures I've looked at, 2 Model 3s, a broken Model 4, a hard drive, most of a Model 1 system, a DMP 200 printer. If it was local, because Sydney it's about 900 odd kilometers from me, but it's local to Sean, I would have offered to help out with the restoration. I've asked to help if they want me to help them with getting the hard drive working, but Sean has kindly put his hand up to fix all this stuff for him.
Well, steady on. I'll take a look. That's for sure.
Give
But
it a
yeah,
shot.
some of it, absolutely. Some of it looks in pretty special condition. Like that, there's the paint's missing off the Model 1 pretty much. Like, it's entirely gone. Like, I don't know how they did that. It's quite an achievement. But no, it looks. I actually managed to pick up a Model 4 for myself that's also not working, so it'll get me into the mood. But yeah, it's that museum is actually about a 20-minute drive from where I live at the most, so it's actually quite local. So I don't have that much of an excuse to not swing by and give it a crack. I also had a look at their box of software that they had photos of. I wouldn't mind rifling through that and finding out if there's anything in there worth scanning and sharing.
There's definitely a lot of software, and some of it I haven't seen before, which is unusual.
Yeah. Other than that, I've spent there was those very strange games in written in C that I ported and Ira shared. And yeah, other than that, I've been spending most of my time with the EZ80. So I acquired myself a Agon Lite 2 and have been tooling around in assembler and learning why the EZ80 wasn't really as successful as it could have been. One of the reasons is that it can never ever be a drop-in replacement. Somebody pointed it out to me, and I've been sort of looking at it ever since. And yeah, the other than making their address space 24-bit, they made their port space 16-bit. So you've got the full 16-bit of ports supported the entire time. Unfortunately, from 0 to 255, which you'll use on every TRS-80, is locked against the system on a chip build. So it's actually got internal peripherals, internal switching, and 0 to 255 is reserved for internal. You can't turn it off, you can't disable it, you can't move it. You can move the memory map around in all sorts of ways, but you can't move the ports. Very strange.
Okay.
But that's why you haven't seen any accelerator equivalents that are using an EZ80, because it just it would clash with everything.
It would cripple the computer.
Yeah, that there's no. I can't imagine there's any Z80 hardware out there that doesn't use at least one port in that space.
Okay.
Always a good old Model 1.
Yeah, but then you lose your sound.
Well, yeah, sure.
But yeah, at least it would work, like for most of it, until you do hit the audio, and then I think something bad had happened.
Are you still interested in having ZMAX support EZ80?
It would be amazing. The state of available tools is not that great. I've managed to find bugs in the provided ZDS Zilog development suite, and there's only a couple of other products that try it, and they've got quite limited support on a few things. I mean, we were talking about macros, but even things like if defs are not supported particularly well. There are a couple of other really useful directives that are in the ZDS suite. Like instead of having to sort of move things around with org statements to align to a memory block, there's an align command.
Hmm. Yeah.
You just tell it align and how many bytes out you want it to align to, and it'll align to a block size. So it's kind of, there's a few little nifty things that make it a little easier. Even having those in there would be good. And it's also got what do you call them? Temporary names. So if you just want to use a field in a loop, you just give it a temporary name, and you can only jump backwards or forwards to it. It's quite limited use, but it means that you don't need to make really long names for things that are inside loops that you use once, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was quite useful features.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been, yeah. So hopefully the TRS-80 side gets to benefit a bit from some further thinking that's been done by Zilog themselves, by the look of it.
Cool. Thanks for joining us today, Sean.
Yep.
You're
Thanks
up
for
at the
having
same
me.
time as I was. I was up at 6 a.m. today, so that was,
you define up.
yeah, I know. Well, the coffee's starting to work, but if I have another giant mug of strong coffee, I'll be getting up from here and going to the latrine, a dozen times before the end of the show. So, all right. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's see. Quinnan, what are you up to, Quinnan?
Hey, well, this has already been on the Discord channel, but I figured I'd pass it along because occasionally I find people listen on the YouTube and write me and such. Was an experience I had with the Tandon TM848-2 drives that I've been playing with since Tandy Assembly to try to get them to work to read some 8-inch discs I've had for decades. And I had a strange experience with the drives that seems to be unique.
What, you mean they work properly and the caps didn't explode on them? I was going to say they're Peter Satinsky's favorite drives.
Yeah, well, that's where two of the drives came from when I got Tandy Assembly. But what was strange about them was I kept messing with them and they kept changing behavior. They'd sometimes read great, sometimes not read at all, like the media was blank. And other times I would just get CRC errors out the wazoo, even if it could read anything at all. And I kept doing stuff and the problem kept moving around. And I finally isolated what was causing the problem, and sort of. It was the amount of time the unit had been on. If I just turn it on, if it was at room temperature, basically cold, and I turn it on, that's when it wouldn't read much at all, if anything. Like it was blank. And I tracked that down to the RPMs were way too fast when it was first on. It would be running at 375 RPM, which is probably why it thought the media was blank, because it couldn't get a lock on the bit string. But after it had been, and I wouldn't touch anything with the RPMs, but if I left it on for 5 to 15 minutes, the RPMs would settle in, right at about 360. And it's like, it wouldn't keep going slower. It would just eventually, as it warmed up, the RPMs would drop into the zone I calibrated it to, but it just had to be on for a while. But the problem is, if it was on for too long, that's when the CRC errors would start happening. And I never tracked down that problem. But yeah, leave it on for more than about 15 minutes or like 5 to 10 minutes of heavy use, CRC errors would just spew all over the place. So as Pete labeled it, there's a Goldilocks zone in this. It's a little bathtub curve, And so I managed to get all my discs read while keeping it in a bathtub, point in Goldilocks. And I finally got all 3 of my discs to read with no the 3 discs I was intending to recover with no unrecoverable errors. So yay, I got it done. But that project I've been working on for nearly 10 years to get those discs read, buying drives and such. and having all sorts of crazy luck. But I have no idea why the drive would act that way. One, the RPMs would be too high when it turned on cold, and then later, if it got too warm, it would just start spewing CRC errors all over like crazy. And it had the same behavior with my cat weasel or my grease weasel. That made no difference. But and no one had heard of a drive that acted that way.
Oh, in the Tandy world, we have.
Well, that's the thing. On the Discord, no one said, but it's something
No.
to consider. So if you've got one of these drives acting flaky, you see if it's got a Goldilocks zone on it.
Speaking
Could
of
go around it when it's CRCing, go around it with some freeze spray and just pick your component, give it a freeze and see if it changes.
If I hadn't managed to read all my disks with no unrecoverable errors, that was my next step to start. I had my freeze spray can sitting right next to it, threatening it.
Yeah.
Make sure. But
And I bet what you'd find as well is when you find the component that is the problem, it's like under $1.
yeah, probably. And I would like to know also try the freeze spray to see if I can get its RPM to speed up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, excuse me. I spent many years designing chips in mass storage. Meyer will probably fix that right up because I designed the bit detector from nothing, and the bit detector is the hardest part of a read channel. It is. And mine is pretty much unbeatable. Just a shameless plug right there.
Speaking of the TM848, I came across this the other day down here in my workshop. I forgot I had it. This is a brand new TM848, never used, still in the factory wrapper.
I still wouldn't trust it.
I'm not paying $3,000 for it.
I'm afraid
No.
to turn it on, but I'm saving it for a special occasion.
Yeah. Just to be clear, this was with 8482 and not a 2E. So the quirky stuff.
Your one, Quentin, had the belt drive. Is that the one you're
Yes.
talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, this is an E. See, it doesn't have the belt. It's got the motor right there on the spindle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tandon's finest. Their QC department must have loved them.
Yeah. So if anyone has a theory, an actual experience that they want to pass along that they've hit this problem before, I'd be kind of curious to collect problems/solutions with this issue.
Yeah,
But
there's a problem I need to solve. Might surprise people that I don't solely do TRS-80 stuff. I also do all old computers pre-year 2000 in order to put food on the table. And I've noticed a large number of 5 1/4 inch 1.2 meg drives from Panasonic. Their model number escapes me at the moment, but they all have the same problem where you put a disk in and it spins at some crazy speed, like 500 RPM. It just goes crazy. And at that speed, a disk that's designed to run at 360 revolutions, it just overheats the surface and wrecks the disk. But when I had the first drive that did it, I thought, okay, so I've got one here, but now I've got about a dozen of these drives, all with the same problem. Yet Googling around to see if anyone knows of this fault with Panasonic, I forget I think it's 475 disk drive, which is basically a plain PC 1.2 meg drive. I'd like to know the component that's causing that, because scratching my head whenever I see those. Other than that, they're actually a very good drive. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Cool. Quentin, anything else on your mind?
No, that's it for this month.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. Always good to see you here. You coming to Tandy Assembly?
Oh yeah, got my hotel and everything.
Yeah, I got my hotel. I just got to get my ticket sorted out on the plane there.
Well, in my case, it's only a drive away, about 5.5 hours, so not too bad.
Yeah, I'm triggered.
Quentin, should I bring a few more TM848s for you, Quentin?
No, I might bring some of my 8-inch drives that I've got to get rid of now, since I got all my discs finally read.
Well, I'm hoping to make the auction the best one ever. So the more stuff people can bring, the better. I haven't been practicing my auctioning at all, and it's going to be pretty much the same as last year. So come
I'm
along.
not
for
sure
it.
if we should allow cursed items on the auction table, or at least they should be labeled. Perhaps that's.
I was going to
something.
say it should be. Yeah. As long as they're labelled, it's fine. No, good. Thanks, Quentin. Peter Phillips. Hi, mate.
Hello.
What's up?
Well, TRS-80 GP 2.5 is out, and it's got a new feature I was going to demo. If I can share the screen here. Share. There we go. I'm going to turn on the, you see the cursor a bit better. I guess by popular demand first, so you can just kind of quickly, there you go. Disk extended color basic.
Whew.
You can tell it's a color computer because of the cursor. I was thinking about this. I don't think there's any machine in existence that has a cursor that multicolored flashes. But
Gotta ask, Peter, is it a 1 or 2 or 3? What is it emulating?
it's basically a 1/2. The 2 is 1 and 2 are almost the same. There was some 2s that could do fancier stuff. It's a first draft, and that like the PIAs and the video graphics, they're not like super solid yet, and you're not getting you're just getting like basic scaling here. There's no like NTSC fuzziness.
No Dungeons of Daggereth yet on this.
I don't know. It'll run a lot of stuff, but we haven't really tested it out to high degrees.
Cool.
But the feature I've been working on is to get something to help you debug devices. If we run the Model 3 version, we've long had a Z80 debugger and allows you to stop and step through things. But the problem is that you can do almost everything from the view of the main processor, because it usually initiates all the actions. But when you're trying to debug like a device like the floppy drive, it gets difficult. And I have an example here is like, this is the schematic for the Model 3's floppy drive. And I've annotated it a little bit here, for the purpose of demonstration. Right here this is the main controller chip that has like most of the complexity of the system in terms of emulating it. And then over here is where it hooks up to the main CPU because it's an add-in board. And then you've got your external drive connectors here. So the emulator is not going to emulate all of these circuits because there's a big chunk of them in here that are like as Peter Bartlett was saying, it's the bit detector and all the stuff that starts to get a little bit analog. But we do emulate things like the index pulse signal, that it comes in and then some random chip decides which index pulse to use based on the I guess which drive is selected, because 0 and 1 are on the internal and 2 and 3 are on the external. So if you're running the emulator, there's a new window called the device viewer. And it starts out, if you just run it, it just shows you the main processor. And it's really it's duplicating the information you see here, that you can see that the registers are changing quickly. And if you stop and step through, you can see them change individually. But there's no new feature there. The new one is that now you can see the floppy disk controller. And it helps you a little bit, because let me explain that the first 5 things are essentially the internal registers. There's 4 internal registers, but 1 gets split into the status when you read it and the command when you write it. So the last command that was written was read sector, and the status right now is not busy, so it's idle. So you can let so now what you can do is, if you want to see what's happening in a command, you can actually stop based on events. So we can choose a command register and tell the emulator to run. And now if I go and type dir, then you'll see it stop because it says it stopped because the command was written. So someone's written the, this is basically the reset command for the chip. And if you continue, I guess it does another reset. Now it does a seek. Go on to the next command, it does a read sector. Then I'll do another interrupt because the read sector finished, and so on. Now up here, you can change the time scale. Right now it's showing you the absolute number of clocks that the emulator has been running. But you can change that to say milliseconds and then per step. So now it'll show us how much time it's between the commands per step. So if we go to the next command after the seek, it takes 43 milliseconds for the next read sector, 100 milliseconds then to interrupt. So it finished reading the sector, and so on. Then if you go back though, you can kind of do this with the Z80 debugger, because if you can remember which port is written to, you can break when there's IO done on a particular port. But now if you want to see what the index pulse is doing, and the index pulse is just a sensor on the disk that senses the whole. So we can change and say, let's start stepping based on IP, which is index pulse. And now when we go a couple times, so it's been 2 milliseconds. If we go to the next one, now it's been 197 milliseconds, and the index pulse is sitting at 1. And if you go again, now it's at 0. And that took 2 milliseconds because it pulses just for the width of the hole, which is around 2 milliseconds out of the 200 or so it takes for a complete revolution. So this allows you to look at, I guess if you're debugging or trying to get the emulator correct, that you can see that, okay, it's taking about 200 milliseconds to rotate the disk, which is what you'd expect. It gets more interesting to me, I guess, if you look at a different signal, the DRQ. Now, second, the disclaimer here, the 0 and 1s are a little bit, usually in the emulator, we code it so that 1 means the signal is present and 0 doesn't, but that could be reversed on the chip because they often do that for convenience. So this doesn't necessarily match the actual signals. But when you're reading a sector, the DRQ is going to go high when data is ready. And once you read the data, it gets cleared. And it's actually internally, that's just a flag inside the chip, but it does send a signal out. And it goes through this pile of circuits here, but more or less it tells the processor to wait so that when DRQ is 0, the processor halts until data is ready, which makes it easier for the Model 3 to keep up. So now if we change this, and let's change the time scale to microseconds and change the event to DRQ. Okay, so it took up many microseconds to get to the first one, but now DRQ is set. So that means that it's set in the register, the pin itself is set. And now that means that the processor has data to read. So if you look at the debugger, you'll see that it's in some kind of loop waiting. So if we go ahead, now 18 microseconds pass and DRQ is cleared because the processor just finished doing the input command and reading the data clears it. So if you keep stepping through it, if you eyeball this, it goes about 8 microseconds and then 24. So the total time to read a byte is 32 microseconds, which is what the controller does. And you can see the DRQ is changing back and forth. And then busy is always set because we've got a command in process. So I want to keep expanding this. Right now the set of signals here are just mostly the ones that go to the chip. Like there's a track 0 sensor, there's a write protect one. I haven't tried that, but in theory, if we go to the disk and turn on write protect, it should change. Yeah, it did. It changed to 1. Go to the diskette, turn write protect off, and do a step. Oh, eventually write protect gets cleared. There's kind of like the emulation may lag a little bit in terms of how much it updates that. But yeah, the goal is to include more devices and then more of the circuits in here. You can't really see it maybe clearly here, but one of the signals or one of the registers that isn't part of the Western Digital chip is the drive cell. And that's buffered here somehow. I guess it's drive cell, and then there's a couple of other bits somewhere down here. Yeah, that choose the whether or not halt is enabled. And I think double density, a couple other things like that. So yeah, a new feature if you want to do some kind of like fancy debugging. And that's it. But yeah, I'll probably continue to work on that on and off, but I think the disk system needs to be improved.
Thanks, Peter. That was very interesting. Always keen to hear about the intricacies of the Model 3 and 4 disk system. Surprisingly, my reproduction disk controller for the Model 3 and 4 I make has been selling at a reasonable clip, probably about 1 a month, which is many more than I expected it to. So people are still messing around with disk drives on their machines, that's for sure.
Is it hard to source floppy chips for that?
There's a few obsolete chips on there that really I have trouble finding, but when I do find them, I just buy every one that I can get my hands on. So and there's a few compatible chips. There's a Fujitsu one which does a very good job in place of the WD, so those seem to be more readily available, though not any cheaper than the WD chip. And the controller I use is the last one, which doesn't have the manual adjustments or anything on it. It's all phase lock looped. So it's a better design as far as production for me. Thanks for that, Peter. I'll see you at Tandy Assembly. You're coming this year for sure, aren't you?
We'll see. I've been hearing about a scheduling conflict right now.
Okay, no worries. George, same with you?
Yeah, I should be good to go.
Awesome.
Hey,
Sounds
Matt,
good.
question for you on that controller. So are
Yeah.
you finding that the people that are buying the reproductions are replacing bad ones, or they're upgrading diskless systems?
A bit from column A, bit from column
Okay.
B. The controllers that are in there are getting to be so old that they're becoming unreliable, and a few people, although they get their machine set up with their diskless machine working nicely with a Fred, they for whatever reason want to connect a GoTech or something, and they do that. So it just keeps on ticking away, which is good. I wouldn't want to be inundated. They actually take a little while to build those things. So, but they're a good little device, and everyone that's got them seems to have gotten them up and running. They appreciate the brand new white cable that comes with them as well. They're sort of blown away that I've still got those. So
Yeah.
there you go.
It's
All
nice to
right,
see the reproduction.
moving right along. How about Patrick Bureau? Hey, mate. You're on.
Well, I've got nothing to report. I've been helping out my local electronic shop. They've got I'm trying to get to his Model 1 that I've been promised to be sold to. It's in his warehouse, and then I'm helping him sort out his warehouse for a store. So we've been doing a lot of 386 and 46 stuff. I got a couple of models out. The TRS-80 that ended up in England arrived safe and sound. So for me, that's a miracle ship. So I've got 2 long distance now under my belt. One in England, one in Brazil, and neither of them are broken. So obviously the packing method works, Ira. Besides that, not a whole lot. You saw a couple of sales I'm doing out. I'm working through my inventory. I'm buried in parts, and I've done
as are we all, Patrick. It's what my place is like.
but I'm trying to get rid of them.
Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to sell them out and move them out as reliably as I can. I've gotten a couple of more requests for keyboard repairs. I'm getting, since I've got some random parts from Model 3, Model 4 keyboards, I've been providing some people to do their own repairs, give them some tips and let them play with their machine a little bit. I found that the new generation tend to be kind of squeamish at touching those machines. But once you show them a video, it's like, hey, this is how you do it now. I'll go like, oh, I can do that. So
once you get the technique of removing and replacing a key switch in a Model 3 or 4 keyboard, it's pretty quick and straightforward, and it's far better to repair a keyboard that's got 5 dead key switches than waiting out for a used keyboard to come along that has all the keys.
And
working.
even then, the ones that you buy on eBay, there's no guarantee those things work. I mean, I've bought one off of eBay and the guy says it's in good condition, but that just means he looked at it and it's not broken.
Yeah.
I've had him where you turn around the board and you've got a spider crack on the board. He doesn't notice it, but you bring it up to a light and there's a beautiful spider crack through like 6-7 traces, and half the keys don't actually function. I've posted in the past pictures where people give me a box of parts and I rebuild the whole keyboard, and they're always like astonished, going like, how'd you get it to work? I said, well, it just takes time. I'm no genius. It's just some things.
A lot of this stuff's just time intensive, isn't it? It's not
a single keyboard from scratch. Let's say you have the whole keyboard and you have to tear it down, make sure the boards are repaired, make sure all the keys have been opened, cleaned, tested, blah, blah, blah. I'd say there's 6 hours of work. But I do them, with a desoldering gun. It goes pretty quick because I just desolder the whole board and pop them all out. And then you do a chain, you break them all apart in parts and you start, okay, this one clean, contact, you do a chain gang and you get it going. With good music, it worked well.
6 hours is good. I'd probably do it in 2 or 3 hour stints or something like that. If I was doing a full refurb, but and then I don't know. It's easier for me to just refer to people in the US to send them to you to do the job that I can't stand.
Well, like I said, sometimes they say, well, okay, can you do it? And I tell them, look, it's going to have to be $50-$60 for me to do it. I mean, there's time involved to do it. And, I have a 40-hour job, so I got to find the time in the evening to sit down and do this instead of relaxing fun on TV. It's easier for me to sell them the 3 key switches and show them where to desolder and how to remove it safely without damaging anything and putting it back in. And then there's even more pride in it when they call back and say, hey, it all works. So,
yeah. A few years ago, there was people in the EU with the AZERTY Model 4 keyboard, those ones. And I talked a few people through it. They've successfully managed to do it. But what I'd tell them is look, I got the US Model 4 keyboard. I got the bezel. Half the keys don't work, but all the keys in your AZERTY keyboard work. If you have the patience to replace all the key switches, pull them out of the AZERTY, put them in the QWERTY, and put it in your Model 4 and update the keyboard ROM, you'll achieve the result rather than and much cheaper than buying a refurbished keyboard from me. So
I did encounter one weird case, and I took a couple of pictures, but I didn't really talk about it. Somebody gave me a keyboard, and the keyboard is okay. It's a Model 4 keyboard, but the print on the back, so the circuit at the rear, is a Model 3 keyboard.
yes,
And it's an entire mess of wiring behind there. They basically cut lines and rewire the whole thing, drill holes and squares for new keys. So it's a complete Model 4 non-GA keyboard, but the printed circuit is actually a Model 3 board.
I've seen a couple of those. I sort of gobsmacked at the amount of work that would have been required to achieve that. It's kind of quite amazing. The other thing I've seen is a few Model 3 keyboards that are built on the Model 4 keyboard chassis. So where the function keys are and the extra keys, there's just empty holes.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that was actually done at production time. They just sort of, as the end of the Model 3, beginning of the Model 4, we're not making any more Model 3 keyboards, but we've got 500 more Model 3s to finish. So let's just do that. Towards the end of the Model 3 era, we got some pretty strange things happening. I've seen Model 3s that have a single Model 4 power supply in them, for example.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, so they obviously got sick of selling those little 35-watt things. But yeah, I've been asking everyone from Texas. Were the Twisters near you, Patrick?
No, that's in the Panhandle, so that's like 300 miles north of us.
Okay, didn't affect you.
We're now second week of June, and Texas is just starting to warm up. In case anybody's wondering why we're getting 100 degrees.
100's nice, yeah.
114 on Friday.
Yep, lovely. Oh, just as well you got a little air-conditioned room there, Patrick.
Oh yeah, the AC is running at 77, and it's plugging away.
Awesome.
Patrick, were you going to VCF Southwest, or you
I am going to be going to Dallas. Yes, one of the computers I sold is actually for somebody in the Coco 2 that I rebuilt, is going to Dallas. So there's that. So forget the name of the gentleman. He says, well, I have an extra ticket because he's selling stuff. So he says, you'll have a ticket to get into this thing, and I could bring him the computer there. So I have never been, so I'll probably hang around for part of the day. I may bring some parts. I may bring a Model 2 and see if somebody wants to swap me something for it. I've got 2 to swap out if anybody's interested. I try to offer 2 Model 2s with two bays for $250, and I had 0 takes on it.
Do they run, or they're
Yeah, they run.
That's amazing. I can't believe.
Bring up the Tandy assembly.
Bring them to Tandy assembly. Peter will buy them. He needs more Model 2s.
Well, if I don't get any swap for one of them in Dallas, I had planned to keep the second one with a bay and give it as for the auction at TA.
Oh, nice.
Sounds awesome. Cool. I'll catch up with you at Tandy assembly then, Patrick.
Maybe.
All right. Maybe. All right. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Timothy. What's up?
Not too much. I've been kind of non-existent because I've been busy at work. I haven't done much retro stuff. The one thing I've done this entire year since Tandy Assembly was restore an Atari 2600 and put HDMI output with a kit, which is a terrible project for any of you interested in actually doing retro computing, because you spend a weekend with an oscilloscope getting that to work, and then you spend 2.5 months playing Asteroids and Space Invaders. So it's a terrible project in terms of getting up to the next project. But kind of just poking around. I always enjoy the TRS-80 GP updates. I still love the sound. Every time it comes up, I kind of smile. That's fun. So Peter and George, thank you for all your work. And I enjoy Dusty, all the TRS 8 bits and all of that. So the work is much appreciated across the community. I will definitely be at Tandy Assembly. I'll at least bring some stuff with the table. I don't know if I'll be doing anything else. I need to get reach out to the folks and see what's going on. But I'm looking forward to seeing as many people as can arrive and saying hello and poking around with some cool old Tandy machines when we get there.
Yeah, cool. You going to do another tech talk?
I don't think so. I haven't done anything. One I'd like to do that I thought would be interesting is I spent a lot of time with Vernon learning multi-DOS, and I was interested in doing like a tech talk on kind of how to operate multi-DOS, kind of like for a beginner. I thought that would be fun, but I don't know if I remember enough. I may have to poke around with it for a little while and see if I could get together because they're about 40 minutes, right? At 40 or 50 minutes. I'll have to see if I can get that together. But I think it's kind of like we don't do a ton of software like operation talks, but I think that would be a fun one. I also encourage other folks who like are really savvy on other operating systems. I think like people at Tandy Assembly would really enjoy like how to get started with X or Y or Z. I think that would be fun.
That sounds like this thing's just about ready to ride itself. Yeah, make it so. Peter, lock him in.
You got it.
You got it. So we got Peter Bartlett and
yes,
Peter Satinsky so far. All right, this thing's filling up nicely. Thanks for joining us, Tim. Jay,
I have not
Jay, you
particularly
there?
agreed to that, by the way.
Jay Newith, are you there or are you just listening?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Just I don't
Hey
have
mate,
a video
your
right
camera's
now.
muted.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's wrong with my camera. I can't. I've been trying to get it to work, but I can't. Let me see. Let me try one more thing.
That's all right. What's happening in Maryland?
Nothing. Just normal weather. And just still selling power supplies and Fred slave drive kits. But
Yep.
that's about it. And I'm looking forward to Tandy, of course. And I'm sure I'll have a table next to you again.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I got to get to your stuff and buy stuff off you next time. I was sort of so out of it last time. By the time I got round to
There we
people's
go.
tables,
There we go.
by the
Got
time
it.
I got round to people's tables to buy stuff, all the good stuff had been sold. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna make that mistake again.
I shipped out that Fred to you yesterday, so you should be getting it. I don't know what he did, but Howard evidently said it started doing crazy things, and he tried to reprogram the PAL chip, and then he said the next thing that happened was just both LEDs came on, and it just couldn't get it to work. So I think the best thing I told him that is I'll just send it to you. You can do what you have to do and send that back to me, and I'll get it to him.
Yeah, I'll get it to stop acting
Right.
crazy and start behaving. It'll
The only other thing I have to report is I came out with the help of John Wiggins, a half-height kit, Fred drive sled. So
looks
anybody
good.
wants a half-height one.
You printing them yourself or you outsourcing the printing?
I outsource them to a place called Craft Cloud, which gives you a real tremendous amount of versatility in picking the ones you want. And I've been doing this one guy, his name is Forge Friends, and he's been very nice to me. So I just don't want to get into 3D printers. I just don't have the money to buy one and get into it. So I figured this is the best way for me to do it.
I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but my experience with them is that while they're working, they're quite smelly, and you live in a small apartment, don't you? That'd
Yeah, well, I kind of
permeate its way around.
It depends. It depends on what you're using. If you're using ABS, it can get smelly and it can get bad. But regular PLA is no problem. So, but it's just again, I can't justify the cost of a 3D printer for one or two sleds. So when this guy can do them for like I do a dozen sleds at a time, and it works out to a fairly nice price. So
that's good. Good to hear. Cool. Good to see
that's
you.
about it.
Good to see you, Jay.
Yep,
Catch
good to
up with
see
you
you all.
at Tandy Assembly. I still haven't worked out when I'm landing there yet.
Yeah, like I say, when you get me that information, I would think, but if I leave like 9 o'clock here, I should be in the Columbus area by 3:30, 4:30, somewhere around there. So
Yeah.
just let me know what time your flight comes in and maybe you can coordinate it. I'll see.
We'll do our best. Okay. Thanks for joining us, Jay. Good to see
All
you.
right.
Paul, out on the beach there in New Hampshire. I don't know. They had a beach there. You're muted, mate. Yeah. Press your mute button.
You've been to
There
the
we
wrong
go.
part of New Hampshire, apparently.
Yeah, we have about 12 miles of coastline, and then mountains on the other end of the state, and yeah, we got it all.
Okay. What's up?
Yeah, mostly hardware repair the past month. Fixing a video jitter issue with my Model 1. Finally figured it was the DIN socket for the video output. Replaced it and all's good again. So deoxit just didn't do a thing for the original socket. So of course now the original CRT monitor connector doesn't fit the new socket because of the plastic shield on the DIN connector of the original. So got to put new ends on the original hardware now. Always something. Did a 3D print case for, let me see if anybody could see this here.
The
Yep.
background makes it hard.
Yeah, okay. It's a case for the Model 1 power supply that MAV sells. 3D print. All the STL files I have available out there on Tinkercad, if anybody wants to snag them and do their own.
It looks pretty good. How long have you been running it with the power supply in there?
About a month now. It seems to not overheat. It does have ventilation holes in it. So the top cover has got a 3D printed Radio Shack logo on it, which hopefully nobody from the ashes of Radio Shack decides to come sue me about it.
It looked pretty slick. I saw it was on the camera there a little bit. It was fading in and out a bit, but we saw
Yeah.
it there pretty well. It does look pretty neat. So, yep.
So other than that, Tandon TM100 disk drive troubles for who knows what reason. Got 4 of them. 2 of them work great. 2 of them I've got issues with the it's basically with not how it's read. One of them doesn't want to read anything. Speed is correct. The head seeking is kind of random and juts back and forth very quickly. Something that it shouldn't do. And I've been trying to troubleshoot the logic boards on them and failing miserably.
It's the logic boards on those are a pain in the ass to troubleshoot.
Yeah, and they're full with tantalum capacitors. The last few of those that I've pulled out of warehouses that haven't been powered up for 20 years, the first thing they do is go bang the tantalum.
That's the first thing I changed was all of the tantalums and a couple of the electrolytics and no change. So
yeah,
I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I've had to adventure from time to time, just abandon the logic board on them and just put a board from another drive that I don't know is out of alignment and I can't be bothered aligning. So I'll just change the board over and there I get a working disk drive. So
This was new to me because when I got a couple of these, the speed control board was faulty and they were going like your Panasonic's like 1,000,000 miles an hour. And it turned out to be there's one chip on the speed board that controls the RPMs, and they seem to be a common failure on the Tandon 100. So maybe there's a similar chip on the logic board of the Panasonic's.
Yep, I know.
Causing the issue for you.
Yeah, I've done that with drives, swapping drives out. You got a good drive that works well, but when I do the alignments, I also check how the head is, and sometimes you got wear on the outside of the head, and that's just a drive that's going to fail in 6 months from now. And you got a drive that's got good heads, swap the board out.
Yeah. Well, I got a pile of drives here, and people occasionally sort of contact me for things like drive doors, the ones with the plastic things that break. And so they prefer to buy the newer doors with the brass
Yeah.
the brass bar that doesn't break. So I've got a, endless. Doesn't bother me if I get a dead drive anymore because it all gets used for parts and all gets people's other machines up and running. It's like a car junkyard here at times.
Yeah, basically, if you've got a drive that's got a bad logic board or a bad bad head on it, it doesn't mean that the motors and everything else are bad on it. You can use it. I've replaced a number of motors that way.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Cool.
What's wild is they were working 6 months ago when I put them away, and now, no, forget it.
Oh, well, I mean, Tandon, the company, we love Tandon for their randomness, don't we, Peter? I can't think of any. I mean, I bought a Radio Shack hard drive when they were new, and I used it sort of daily for about 6 years and started developing bad blocks after 6 years. So the fact that any Tandon stuff still runs these days is a miracle as far as I'm concerned. So yeah.
Hey, Paul, did you ever get your Chroma TRS to work? You were the one with the beautiful case for it, right?
Oh,
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
This abomination that still does not work. It's a great boat anchor.
Yeah, are you on Discord? Please reach out to me because I have a couple working ones, and it's horrifying to me that you have that beautiful case and it doesn't work on.
Well, if anybody wants to take it on as a troubleshooting project, I don't think I'm going to make it to Tandy assembly this year, but if somebody wants to take it on, send me your address.
Reach out to me. Reach out. Are you on Discord? Just reach out to me on Discord.
Yeah. I'm on Discord. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to. What is it? Are you like NH Paul on Discord?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I'll track you down because I've got a couple working ones. I've done a few, and they're also only 5-volt power. They don't need all the fancy power.
Okay.
So I'll work.
This one, I've
beautiful. Your beautiful case can eventually have a working board in it. It's horrifying.
The beautiful case, the files are also on Tinkercad as well, if anybody wants to do their own.
All right, I can maybe get my son going on that. He has a printer. So awesome. I'll reach out.
I've also got a few of the blank boards left as well. If you wanted to try again from scratch, just drop me a line. They're sitting there gathering dust at the moment.
Maybe the board itself has got a problem. Is it a multi-layer board, Mav, or
just a basic two-sided board?
Two-sided.
Yep.
No idea then.
Who knows?
There's
having one sitting side by side, I'm sure Tim can sort it out in no time.
Yes, when you have a working one, it makes it a lot easier to figure out what's wrong with a broken one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, mine has got the 12-volt, the 4116 RAM in it. So I do have a power supply that does both, all three required voltages. So, and it does seem to be correct with its outputs. So it doesn't seem to be a power issue. For some reason, I think it was George that reached out to me on Discord with a quick basic program to test it, to see about how it reacts. And I think we determined that bit 1 seems to be stuck. And after chasing everything, I can't seem to,
Yeah, I wrote some assembly language too to test the thing. It's very testable once you get the bus up and going, but it definitely, you have to understand what's going on
because I don't know if it was conflicting with the Fred that when I was using both together on the or not. And I tried just standard disk images off of the GoTech, and I couldn't get it to do anything more than background color and sound. So like the actual graphics would never come up. So
by the way,
Tim's your man.
I'm sorry, Matt. I was just gonna say for our watchers out there, because the Discord was mentioned a few times. If anybody out there is not on the Tandy Discord, just send an email to trs80trashtalk@gmail.com. And if you've watched this video this far in, you are definitely welcome to join the Tandy Discord.
Cool. All right, Paul, good to hear from you. Hope to catch up with you soon. And maybe by this time next month, Tim will have some news on that Chroma. All right.
One can
I think that's just about everyone. We've got 2 people left and around 27 minutes to go. So we're ahead of time. Craig Skeels, you there?
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi.
how you going, buddy?
Yeah, I haven't been able to do much this time. Thought I'd tune in though and see what's new, see what's going on. Job hunting, so not sure if I'll be able to afford to go to Tandy Assembly this time around either. But I'll work on
That's
it.
all right. A lot can change in a few months, so you know we'll always remain optimistic. Hope your job hunt is successful. You've been doing much with the computer stuff, or not a lot?
Unfortunately, no. No, I had to move all my stuff out for a bit, and yeah, just have too much going on right now to have it up and running like I always have in my background. So,
Yeah, that's my definition of a nightmare, having to move all my computer stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I had one casualty, one TRS-80 Model 1 that I bought. It wasn't working, but now it's not working, and it has a big broken part of the case as well.
You dropped something on it, or you dropped it?
The shelves I bought, plastic shelves. I've had them in the past, and they've never just crushed under, you know, not too much weight, but these ones, they're making them cheaper and cheaper all the time, and just fell off. So
yeah, I use those garage type ones that to store all my CRT monitors on them. They seem to hold up pretty well, but the cheap ones, they just look a little bit too flimsy, and you know, a CRT monitor dropped from 5 feet is not a pretty sight.
You got to get these metal ones like I have here, like Joel has behind him.
Yeah, like Joel has.
yeah, I got some new metal shelves, but I haven't actually put them up yet. So
cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time around. Craig, thanks for that. Hey, Joel, what's up? What you been working on?
Not too much. Just kidding. A lot. So I got a 4,000 right here, Eddie's, that I'm trying to get going. I can't get it to post. So that's been a fun one.
What is it? What is it?
4,000. Tandy 4,000.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't know what it's doing. Voltages are good, power looks okay, noise looks fine. I just can't get the postcard to tell me anything about it. So that's been one project. Getting the software image that I keep getting in, all the wonderful school stuff, since you wouldn't give me it couldn't fly any of those binders out of your hand. So now I'm having to, so I'm building my own, getting there, you know.
Yeah.
Got a bunch here to try and get you know, imaged and captured and scanned and all that fun stuff.
I'm surprised they're that hard to find. Wasn't school networking fairly popular in the US, or
mostly Apple?
Yeah,
people are holding on to them. So
I think that's the thing, is that schools don't have a limitless storage ability. So once the network's obsolete or replaced, they kind of dump the lot, and that's all the software and everything goes with it. So
yeah, it's been really cool. We got color logo, so you can do I got the teachers side of it, so that's really cool. It's 3 of the high motivation reading series now, and that's actually tapes, books, and discs, if I can get them read. So I've got 3 of the series now. I hope to scan those in so we can, you know, at least experience it digitally, listen to the tape, and maybe run the software if I can. But yeah, everything is just a little bit moldy, so gonna need a little bit of cleaning. But
my discs for the 2 that you don't have, I forget which ones they were, but the 2 discs I've sort of visually inspected the media, and I'd be scared to put it in a drive. Unfortunately, they've not been stored well prior to my acquisition of them.
All right. Well, if you ever want to, get them imaged, let me know. You mail them to me. I will totally image them and send them back to you. This is the craziest thing today because I was stuck on a plane. The storms did affect me because I was flying back in from a client and they routed us all the way to Austin. My flight was only supposed to be 2.5 hours. And like 4 hours later, they finally come over the intercom. Hey, DFW has been tossed around and they can't get a ramp clear for us. And we don't have enough fuel to fly around in circles while we wait. So we're going to go ahead and land in Austin and refuel. Finally got back at like 4 a.m, but I couldn't get to this auction. This auction was literally ending while I was on the plane. So I put the max amount of money and I actually got to win it. So yeah, that
Are
was
they
really
the Tandy
cool.
2000? Are they the Tandy 2000 versions?
Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah,
And it just
they were the
verified Planetfall works and it just got a good image of it. So I should have that uploaded soon. And free in the freaking thing. They didn't say anything. It was not part of the ad or whatever. They just threw the witness in and it's got the disc. It's got a little bit of pressure pointing in it where something was sitting on it. So I'm not sure if is that where baking comes in? Is that what the heat's for? Is to kind of make the cookie flatten back out a little bit?
Is the cookie actually indented?
Yeah.
The baking's not going to help that.
It's not too bad. I don't know. Can the camera see it? I mean, it's not that bad, but it is there. It's not in really good shape. But the disc is in great shape. Are you kidding me? Look at both of these discs. They're practically brand new.
Yeah.
Any mold, Planetfall read just fine. I got a perfect grab the first time. I'm hoping if I can do the same thing for the witness because both of them are copies for the Tandy 2000. So I'm blown away.
Yeah, they were initial release games for the Tandy 2000 when the Tandy 2000 was released. Notice they're both text adventures because the most minimum configuration of the Tandy 2000 doesn't have a graphics card, just has text. So the initial 2 games that were available for them are text adventures.
The best part about the witness version is I'm assuming that's the special Tandy. It's going to have the Tandy bit set, which means that there's going to be a whole bunch of changes to the language that it uses. So that there's a few. It's kind of a little more, a little more PG. It's well documented on the web what the actual changes are. But yeah, you'll find that there's a few limitations in the game compared to the full version that everyone else got.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I bought them when they were new, so I might have the disc, but God knows where it is, Joel. Like a lot of my stuff, it's in disparate places around my abode.
Within 6,000, I got all the hard drives realigned so everything can run again. That was fun. I'm guessing the heat in Texas, we transitioning from winter to summer or winter, spring to summer. Those, what do you call them? Like I guess the ceramic capacitor that has to be adjusted. I guess it's temperature sensitive, like to the ambient temperature. I guess I don't know. Just seems weird that all 3 of them went out of alignment pretty much at the same time. So
I do know that the alignment, or at least some of the documentation which came with TRS-80 hard drives, was that if you're doing a initial format, you want to turn it on and let it just run for 30 minutes, for the temperature inside it to stabilize before doing your initial format. That's written in the hard drive manual that came with TRS-80 hard drives. And those early controllers in the black drives with the manual adjust, they seem to go off a little bit as well.
it was cool. It's keeping me, keeping me fresh on it, right? Because I almost started to forget how the process went. But it really need to plug the disc back, the diagnostics disc in. It's like, here, just do this. I was like, great. I'm going to look it up.
Cool. So I think we can all pretty much agree that your display at last year's Tandy Assembly set a new bar for excellence. So what do you got planned for this year?
Nothing this year. Work has got me scheduled for 2 different engagements, and I just don't know when I'll be able to get off or if I'll be able to get off. I was hoping that the one engagement, which is actually in Cincinnati, would put me pretty close at the time. So there's still fingers crossed that I might be able to just walk in and be able to attend. But exhibiting, driving, putting it all together, these last 2 times being able to show it off made me realize that I need somebody to help me. It's not it's not a one man job. I was lucky to have Eddie when we went to TA, and that was fine. He was able to help me, but doing this by myself, I tried to do it locally here for the DFW retro group, and it was like standing outside waiting on someone to open the door because it's locked with the badges, and it's just a mess, a nightmare in there. And I'm gonna watch my stuff and the what do you call it, the VCF Southwest with I don't know how many people's gonna be there, which I will be there attending, but not showing this year. I hope next year to show, and I hope when I do show that I have more in the Network 3 than just a set of games on a hard drive that maybe or maybe not was fun to play. I'd really like to have more of the education setup going, that K8 through math with the grading system that it comes with. I'd love to find that. I'd love to get I'd love to find Pilot Plus so that I can the 3 red HMRS binders require Pilot Plus to run them. So I think somebody shared a copy with me digitally. I hope I'll have to go back and look, but maybe not. We'll see. But I'd like to have a more educational setup of the Network 3, getting closer to what it was in the classroom. And then also this plant ball thing. I know all I got to do is go find that bronze lamp, and I'll have everything I need to recreate the little magazine ad with the Tandy 2000 on it. It's fun.
I'm pretty sure I have Pilot Plus.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think somebody had shared it in the Discord back, but then I didn't jump on it, so I need to go surf back through the feed and find it if somebody shared it. But yeah, it's required to try it out. I can't get my other trick. Oh, somebody has asked me to make them discs for a Coco 1 or a Coco 2. I am not sure how to do that. I mean, I know that they're 35 track and a single-sided single density, I'm guessing.
Single-sided double density.
Not a double density. Okay.
I mean, I use a cat weasel to copy discs, and they seem to do Coco discs. Okay, but I don't know if the DSK or DMK format that we use in our TRS-80s is the same as the Coco crew use with their DMK or whatever.
I'm fairly sure it's quite different.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
DMK? No, if it is a DMK, it's the same. But almost all of the color computer stuff I find, the .dsk files, they're just raw 18 sector 35 track like images.
Yeah,
really
DSK could mean anything. I mean, there's no standard for it. You just don't know.
Yeah.
So is this something you think I can write with IMD just to write back out for him on a fresh set of new discs?
I'm not sure.
It shouldn't be a problem. I mean, it's a fairly like vanilla format.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna try it. Like I said, I've got discs. I'll try to work it for him. I'll hand it to him, test it, and be like, hey, let me know if they work. If they don't, we'll figure it out.
I've ripped Coco discs with my cat weasel and encoded them in DMK, and then I turned around and read them just fine on the GP emulator in Coco mode. So
yeah. I mean, when I'm requested to Coco discs, I don't pull out a Coco anymore. I just grab the discs and I use DMK to cat weasel and back and just duplicate them that way, and they always work. So
I'll give that a try.
Give it a shot. Yeah. All right, Joel.
Yep.
Good to see you again. Hopefully see you next month.
Yep.
And at Tandy Assembly. Lucky last, Al has no mic. So I think
no mic and no video. That's going to be hard.
No mic and no video. So just a old school lurker, which, well, we're glad you can come and join us, Al, and listen in on us. And hopefully you've he's waving to us. Good on you, mate. All right. Thanks for joining us. All right. We got about 14 minutes to go. Any last stuff anyone wants to say?
So you mentioned something.
I apparently am non-existent.
Okay.
That was your statement?
You're not existent?
You've had so much, you've spoken so much stuff, Peter. I thought you just got out everything you wanted. Go for it. You
That's
have the
more
mic,
than
Peter
I've talked
Bartlett.
in like 6 months. All right. I'm an engineer, so I like make notes. All right. Every other time I've been on Trash Talk Live, my microphone has been too loud. Is it okay now?
Yes.
It's perfect. I was going to say, I'm surprised that the usual first sentence of yours hasn't blown my eardrums out.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was, but apparently it's fixed. Okay, I have sent in my Tandy Assembly sponsorship, but I get no respect for that.
What does that mean?
It means it's not on the website.
I'll get to it tomorrow.
All right. I'm just bitching and moaning. Okay, Tandy Assembly. My current plan is that I will be at the Columbus John Glenn Airport at 1:30 with a rental car. If anybody needs a ride to Springfield, I'm there. And I'll be returning to Columbus around 1 o'clock on Monday. The offer's there. So we have 10 minutes left.
Will he make it?
What's this last note? I can't even read my own damn writing. Anyway, so there's a product I sell that in 2021 was my bestseller. It is a replacement for the Model 1 expansion interface. And there it is.
Meyer. Is that Meyer?
Yeah, Meyer, is it?
So it's a fully expanded expansion interface. It has 30K RAM. It has RS-232. It has a line printer port, you know, on more slightly modern connectors, DB connectors, and it has floppy emulation on a SD card, and it mounts DMK files. I've been selling this thing for like 6 or 7 years, and I've sold it. 2021, it was my top seller, which was very surprising to me, because I thought people who wanted an expansion interface would just buy an expansion interface on eBay or something. But you know, it's got a expansion port, so you can connect it to your voice synthesizer or your mice or whatever. But you know, yeah, it's got an FPGA that drives the whole thing. So anyway, I after over a year, okay, so after a year, over a year actually, that part right. Okay. Anyway, there's a PIC processor on there that controls the virtual floppies. And it was unavailable for over a year. I could not build the things. And it's finally available again. And I have a stack of requests to buy the thing. And I'm going through them as fast as I can. It's just, it seems like an artificial shortage because, you know, it's one of Microchip's very basic processors, microcontrollers, and you know, whatever. Anyway, that's what it is.
So it's coming back. It's coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah, it's back. I can't build them fast enough. And you know,
Now,
Ian, I know you're not a big fan of the thing. You take a different approach. That's fine. But people have been buying.
I think it's a no. I don't mind the thing. I think it's a great idea. I'm going to actually put this to the audience. I want to see a show of hands, because at the time you were developing this, I said to you, it would be rather successful if the circuit board was the shape and had the mounting holes to fit inside the plastic expansion interface enclosure, so that it would that the computer looks like it's supposed to look. And
yeah, and you're right about that. It would be.
And so can we get a show of hands of who thinks that would be a good idea?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so it becomes, as well as a Maya, it also becomes a replacement for the unreliable expansion interface board, and that will if what you're after is more sales, but that, I think, would make it rather more interesting.
You're right, and I have had customers actually put this thing somehow into an expansion interface encasement. They did. I built my own out of plexiglass and spacers and stuff, which worked pretty well because, you know, this thing, you know, it's got all the expansion interface
ports.
Ports, and so
really
there's a lot of wires hanging out of the thing. So you know, I kind of like my solution because it's a piece of plexiglass, spacers, plexiglass.
Yes, I see it.
All the sides are open, so you can take all your cables out easily.
I got a question.
Certainly.
How much of a I understand that the thing is that you've done a massive design and the design works and it does sell, but the question I have, and I'm not playing the devil's advocate or telling you what to do. I'm just wondering, and because I don't know, how much of a rework would it be to take this schematic design and take it and go, okay, I need it to fit in this box with these holes at these locations, the same board that you have, just relayed out into a different PCB?
I suppose it would be fairly simple, but
I think so. But do you have the time?
I think it would be simple. It's not a big deal. You know, I'm not a PCB designer by trade. I'm a chip designer. And so PCBs are kind of painful for me, but I can do it.
It wasn't a critic. I was just wondering.
No, that's interesting because there's a guy named Ian Lockhart who could probably take his design and do just that. And he would do it. I mean, the stuff he built a complete Model 1 from scratch. He built the case, the boards, everything, all hand done. And the thing was phenomenal, but I don't know what he's doing now. I haven't spoken to him in a while. He was very helpful with me in designing some of my earlier Model 1 power supply circuit boards.
Well,
the guys are with, and he could probably do that with no problem.
But I've already released the floppy controller. You know, literally, you know, that's a floppy drive interface. The floppy controller is in the FPGA, which is underside the blue board. I've already released that on this forum. I designed it myself because I spent years in mass storage. So floppy drives are like candy. It's kid stuff. But yeah, I've released it on this forum. You can do it yourself. You can interface to floppy drives. I've used the same thing on my Coco prototype. But since I've started building these things again, the Meyer, my office is just a disaster area. It's you know, I like everything in its place, and you know, this bugs the crap out of me.
Oh, wow.
That's nothing.
I was going to say, I wish mine was like that. Yeah,
I wish it was that organized.
That's neat.
You know, I like everything in its place.
So your OCD is having a nightmare at the same time you're making sales. It's quite the contradiction itself.
Yes.
And so, what else did my note say? Oh, anyway, I'm still working on the wireless devices for the Model 1 and Model 3 and Model 4. They're fine, they work. Just got a lot of software to convert, which is my most hated thing in the world. So anyway, that's all I have to report. Like, that's enough.
Good on you, Pete. I'm glad that the Maya's back. It was popular, and it does fill a need that for people that do need an expansion for their Model 1s. If it mounted to the 3 holes inside the expansion interface, that would be great. But
like I said, people have actually done that. You know, that wasn't really an original goal, but it can be done, and the board, if I did that, would be so huge that it would just be a bunch of wasted space.
But it doesn't
That's
matter.
okay. I mean, some of the things I build are like that, but that's because when I go on, Patrick.
The thing is, Mr. Bartlett, is that there are tons of cases that have bad internals that are a nightmare to repair. They don't work. If you had a drop-in solution, and I know I'm just letting you know what the impression is about this. If you had a drop-in solution, even if it has a lot of space, I know that for an engineer, that's like, why is there so much space? It's just a requirement of placement.
But the question is, who has a expansion interface case?
I have 3
without
of them.
an expansion interface board.
I have
I
three.
do.
I have 3 of them, and there's 2 boards, and they don't
And I
work.
have one too.
Just about every Model 1 enthusiast has an expansion interface sitting there where the board doesn't work. That's
Well,
what I'm kind of getting
I
at.
know we're kind of at the time limit, but this thing, I've replaced some of the interfaces, like the line printer port with the DB25, the RS-230 port, RS-232 port with a DB9, and so on. So where the wires come out.
The expansion interface case, we already know what each of the apertures are for. So it's really just a case of using your PCB design software to shuffle the ports around and have the 3 mounting holes in the correct place, and you're pretty much done. But because I mean, if at the front center of your expansion interface is your serial port and you've replaced it with a DB9, then you've got plenty of space there to put an SD card.
There's the SD card too
for the floppy emulation and stuff. So it's worth putting in a bit of considering it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate that. And, I'm pretty proud of the SD interface, and I apologize for taking us a little over time here.
Anytime.
Maybe at TA, we could,
it's a great
put one of
product.
your boards in and expand. Maybe Patrick could bring an expansion interface board, case, and we could take your board and we could play around and look and see
that'd be fun.
what it would do.
Like I said, another customer has already done it, and it's a beautiful thing. I'll try to post photos of it. I think I might already have on the Discord.
Oh, okay.
I've got one thing I want to throw out there for that as a plausibility. What about a combination board with Meyer and mice together that would fit in an expansion interface?
Yeah, it's been mentioned. The thing would cost $500, but yeah.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to. It'd be the deluxe model for the Model 1. Yeah, people would pay an easy 500 for it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but at some point, and people have discussed this very often. At some point, it becomes not a TRS-80 anymore, but a reproduction. And I don't do reproductions.
You didn't.
I use my original TRS-80 that my dad bought me in 1978. I do.
But you put a
And
DB9
that's what I
on
want.
it.
I want the TRS-80 to be in control of the whole damn system.
But you put a DB9 on it. It's no longer Model 1.
It
didn't have a Model 1
it's
in
just
78.
a DB9 for Christ's sake. I can
If
hook
you're
a
gonna-
mouse to it.
if you're the one that brought the purest card. If you're going to say, I want it to be like the 1978 Model 1, you can't have a DB9 on it. I'm sorry. It doesn't
try
work.
hooking RS-232 to a freaking Model 1. It's not easy.
Yeah. You're being a provocateur, Patrick. You know what? The DB9, I'm going to allow it.
Yeah,
All
well,
right,
there are 2 different types of. I'm sorry, we're over time here, but all right. So there's the DB9, right there, and there's the RS-232 transceiver chip, and there's a optional box header here. There are 2 different pinouts of box headers for RS-232. And you can't just pick one at random. You have to use the right one. I think the one I used was called AT/Everix. The other one is, I forget the name, but you can't just pick one and use it. You have to get the right one.
Okay.
So anyway, that's my tirade for the night.
Much appreciated, Pete, and always glad when you can join us here. I'm looking forward to catching up to you with you at the bar at Tanny Assembly.
Yeah, I think Lee and Lee is gonna, never mind.
Never mind.
They caught up to me at TA22 and just basically dragged me into the bar. Is not of my own volition.
All right, everyone.
Lee and D. Lightman.
I think we've done our 2 hours. Thanks for joining us. Any last words before we go?
Stay safe.
Take care,
Yep.
everyone.
Thanks, Jay. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you in around a month's time, won't we, Peter?
Yep. We'll
All
do
right.
it again.